Hello, welcome to Mindframes for Online Learning. This is part of Learn's Family University. Our presenters today are Ms. Carla Strecker. She is a special education supervisor for Learn. And I'm Pamela Santerre. I'm the interim coordinator of online learning for Learn. Our contact information is on the screen. Please contact us with anything that we can do to help you and your child be successful during online learning. This is the second of 3 videos in our Mindframes for Online Learning course. In this video, we will discuss student mindframes for learning. As a reminder, you know your child best. In this video, we will share some strategies that others have found helpful in helping their child be successful in online learning. But you know your child. Take what strategies that you think will be best for your child and leave the rest behind. There are 6 aspects that research has found are part of the students who have strong cognitive self-regulation. Those are knowing their current level of understanding, knowing where they're going and having the confidence to take on the task, selecting tools to guide their learning, seeking feedback and recognizing that errors are opportunities to learn, monitoring progress and adjusting their learning, and recognizing their learning and teaching others. In this video, we will cover all 6, including actions that you might see your child's teacher taking to help them develop these mind frames, as well as actions that you can help at home to help your child develop these mind frames. Mind frame number 1, knowing your current level of understanding. Current levels of understanding or performance are like a GPS pin drop for your location. It's where you are now, not where you want or need to be. Being attuned to your current levels of performance help orient you to your successes and your growth opportunities. They are not your destiny and should not be a source of shame. Instead, they should be used to establish goals for learning. It is important to your child to understand their current level of understanding or performance. And it's important to know that there is no bad place to be. One of the reasons that adults hide children's current performance is that we worry that the child will feel bad. That happens when we make them feel bad about their performance or when we do not want to help them move forward in their learning. It's akin to a gap in your work performance. Everyone knows, but no one wants to tell you. But how will you ever improve? Will you have to wait for your annual performance review to find out that something was wrong? That hardly seems fair. But as adults, we do it to children all the time. Teachers are continually collecting data about a child's learning progress, and they might share this assessment information with you. Don't let this define how you think about your child. It's only one aspect of your child, and we need to remember that learning, abilities, achievement, and performance are all changeable. For example, if an educator says to you, your child currently reads about 2 grade levels below, a natural instinct might be to attribute the difficulties to the child. Internally, you might say, my child is not a good reader. I don't really like to read, and she might have gotten that from me. Remember, these numbers are just estimates, and they are influenced by these unprecedented times. Also, we know that reading performance changes with intervention, and the development of cognitive, behavioral, and social skills are not the same for everyone. In other words, children develop at different rates. Assessments just show the averages, and they also point to growth opportunities. Knowing this information will help you and your child and will allow your child to set goals and develop self-regulation. So, what should you do to support your child's knowledge of their current level of understanding? First, make sure you have accurate information. Ask your child's teacher for current levels of performance and resist the urge to attribute the current levels you see to your child's abilities. Second, talk with your child about the data. Ask your child what the data means. If you're not sure, ask the teacher to explain the data to you. And make sure that your child knows that you're not disappointed. Adopt a frame of mind that this is a worthy challenge and one that will result in a better outcome for your child. Again, you do not have to be the teacher, but you can help your child understand their current performance level and that you are supportive of their learning journey. And third, talk with your child about a non-academic performance, such as sports, music, video games, or anything else that they care about. Were they always as good as they are now? Did they understand their current level of performance so that they could identify areas of growth? Make the connection that it's the same in academics. Learning is about changing and growing, and these examples help children recognize that learning is a journey. I'll turn it over to Carla, who will talk about Mindframe number 2.
Thanks, Pam. The next piece would be talking, for our second mind frame, is talking about knowing where we are going and having the confidence to take on the challenge. There are two parts of this mind frame that play nicely together. The first part relates to the destination, recognizing that there are many ways to get where you are going. Some take longer, some include detours, and some routes are more direct. That should not matter. The fact that you arrive safely is what matters. The second part focuses on confidence. Openly confident students actually learn less, but optimistically confident students learn more. Knowing where they are going and knowing why is important drives attention and encourages children to allocate resources such as time and effort to accomplish their goals. When school is a random collection of tasks, children may become compliant, and they may even learn something from the tasks, but they do not develop the habits of mind that we're looking for. They need to know the destination based on their current level of understanding or performance and estimate how much effort it will take to reach the goal. A teacher should be clear about what the students need to learn each day. The questions on the screen help students understand why they are being asked to complete certain tasks and assignments, and they can judge the amount of effort that will be required to accomplish it. What can you do to support this? Perhaps ask your child what they'll be learning in school that day. Talk about the destination and why it is important. If the destination is not clear, encourage your child to ask the teacher the 3 clarity questions that are presented on the screen. Confidence is another matter. Confidence grows over time, and your child's confidence will likely vary highly across different subject areas. For example, a child may be very confident with their mathematical prowess, but not confident in their writing. Or a child might be confident in social relationships with peers and not that confident in academics. And still another child may be confident in reading, but not confident in reading for information. One of the ways to build confidence is to practice. Practice is important. In fact, practicing and then experiencing success is motivating. In addition, confidence is built through feedback and risk-taking. Children need to try things that are a little beyond what they believe they can do, and then receive feedback about what worked and what they could try next. You can help with this. Encourage your child to try things that are a little bit outside of their comfort zone, and then provide feedback about the experience. Sometimes we need to get out of our own way to grow. To support your child, know where they are going. You can do this by setting individual and family goals. Make goal setting a part of the way your family works together. You might identify a purchase and set up a jar labeled Family Fund for depositing spare change, or share a health goal that you have, such as running a 5K and keeping track of your progress so that your child can follow your journey. Set daily task-oriented goals with your young children, like feeding the fish and putting away the toys, and write them down so the child can check them off. You can also set monthly challenges with your child. We are all fans of those monthly healthy living challenges that we receive on our phones. Importantly, they are attuned to where we are individually, and it's not the same goal for everyone, but rather designed for improvement. As each month draws to a close, Talk to your child about a goal he or she has for himself or herself for the following month. It might be an academic one, like reading a certain number of books, or a non academic one, such as eating more vegetables or planting herbs in a window flower box. By setting goals, you are supporting your child in knowing where they are going. I'm going to turn it over to Pam to talk about our third mind frame.
Thanks, Carla. Mind frame number 3, selecting tools to guide your learning. There are a wide variety of tools that students can use to guide their learning. In most cases, there is not simply one tool that will work. Teachers can introduce a number of tools to their students, such as procedures, graphic organizers, ways to take notes, and decision-making processes. Sometimes teachers need students to complete a task in a specific way so that they can assess understanding. But in the long run, children need to know that there are options and that they need to take responsibility for their choices. This mind frame builds children's responsibility for their learning. Tools are under their control, and they need to be taught a range of tools and then provided chances to use them. But here's a little secret. There is no one right way to teach something. This can be frustrating for children, as some of them just want to get it right, and they do it in the exact same way the teacher did. And when you show them a different way, they might tell you that you don't know how to do it. Resist the urge to correct them. Instead, ask them how they did it and whether or not it worked. Of course, sometimes children will select the wrong tool. Let them. It's a learning opportunity. Our goal is to have children know what to do when they don't know what to do. Choice is motivating. When given a choice, we are more likely to engage because we have a commitment to our selection. Selecting tools for learning contributes to the executive function of cognitive flexibility. This is the ability to switch between thinking about different concepts or ideas, or to think about different ways to solve a problem or complete a task. In the case of learning tool selection, children who take responsibility for their choices, especially when they consider several and then select one, are practicing the main aspect of cognitive flexibility. Refrain from telling your child that there is one way to do things, especially learning tasks. If you see a shortcut, you can make an offer, but allow the child to choose. You can allow the child to finish and then show them different options. If possible, ask the child to solve a problem in a different way. For example, if the child solves a mathematics problem with numbers and an algorithm, ask them if they can solve it with an image or objects or with words. And finally, you can support teachers in encouraging students to have choices in their learning strategies. So in order to help students select the tools that best guide their own learning, your child's teacher might introduce students to a variety of learning tools and then ways to solve a problem. They might require that a student use one tool to solve a problem so that they experience the process and decide if it will be useful for them later. They might focus on spaced practice, and they might focus on deliberate practice. So spaced practice has been shown by researchers to be much more effective than mass practice. In distance learning and face-to-face classes, you may see teachers assign students practice experiences across time. For example, they might space problems out across a unit and include problems from the past so that students still have to apply their knowledge to those types of challenges. It's better to have students practice 30 minutes each day than 2.5 hours on a Friday. Deliberate practice is just as important. In school, when we talk about practice, sometimes it's equated with mindless repetitions, which is the opposite of deliberate practice. You might see teachers asking students to focus their attention and engage in tasks with the specific goal of improving performance, while providing feedback that helps student know where best to move in their next learning. The key to this is that students have a mastery goal orientation rather than a performance goal orientation. In other words, it's more valuable to say, I want to write well, or I want to use writing to create changes in the world. That's a mastery goal. Than to say, I want to get an A on this essay, or I want to pass this class. That's a performance goal. When students have goals, they are more likely to engage in deliberate practice. So you might see a teacher giving feedback to a child about what they need to work on in the next essay or in the next science project, and then specifically asking them to do that. You can help support your child's ability to choose tools in two different ways. First, you can promote tool selection choices. If your child's younger, ask them to help you choose which tool might be better to accomplish a task. For example, in the kitchen, ask about cooking tools. I'm making salsa for a snack tonight. What bowl would be better for me to use? Older children can also assist in making decisions about what need to be taken for an outing, not just gathering them at your direction. Your child should also be responsible for managing his belongings for school or other events. This builds that foundation of cognitive flexibility and a habit of understanding that there is often more than one path to success. You can also foster study skills that rely on several cognitive tools. There are several components to studying, but your child may only know one. For example, a lot of children think that underlining and highlighting are how you study. Those techniques are really good when you're initially learning something, but they're not very effective when studying for an exam. So you might want to introduce your child to flashcards for studying facts or vocab definitions. Annotations, which are making notes or writing out questions about a reading, is especially effective. Doing so on paper rather than on a screen actually increases their retention of that material later. You can also help your young people develop affective study skills, which are those that impact emotions and perception. For example, studying in a quiet environment increases attention. If study space is at a premium, it might be useful for your child to play music without lyrics because the words compete for attention in the brain through headphones. I will turn it over to Carla to talk about Mindframe number 4.
Thanks, Pam. Mindframe number 4 talks about seeking feedback and recognizing that errors are opportunities for learning. Not all feedback is received. You know that you have been immune to some of the feedback that you've received from others. There's a difference between feedback that is sent and feedback that is received. And one of the ways to increase the likelihood that feedback is received is to ensure that it is requested. Therefore, we need to teach children to seek out feedback and not wait passively for it. In addition, we would all benefit if we could accept the fact that errors are opportunities to learn. If an hour goes by in a classroom and there are no errors, the students already knew that information. There's evidence that between 48% and 60% of minutes of children are in school are spent on things that they have already learned. When we get students in the Goldilocks struggle, the area where things are not too easy, not too hard, and just right, they are more likely to make errors, and they have an opportunity to learn from those errors. Seeking feedback is a skill, and one that can be learned. To start, ask your child, on what would you like my feedback? At first, they are likely to say everything or this problem. Over time, ask your child for more specifics. Where on the paper do you need my feedback? Which part of the problem is causing trouble that you have tried? Then encourage your child to seek feedback from their teacher. You may have a brief conversation each week with your child, asking them to identify an area where they would like to see feedback from their teacher. They could even keep a notebook of potential ideas, and when the time is right, ask for feedback. The idea is to develop a habit-seeking habit, or a help-seeking habit, in which your child knows that it's perfectly acceptable to seek help from others. The reason that most children do not seek help or feedback is that they don't want to look dumb. That's because the culture we have created right there, answers are celebrated and already knowing information is privileged. Making mistakes or not knowing something can be a source of embarrassment. As a parent, watch your body language and attitude when your child makes an error or is confused. Try to notice the feelings of frustration that might arise. Stop and try to understand that this is actually the very moment you've been waiting for. It's a learning opportunity. Your investment right at that moment is much more likely to impact your child's learning. Make sure your child knows that errors are expected, natural, and useful. Make sure that your child knows that you expect errors and you will actually work to ensure that there are tasks and assignments that provoke errors so that they can learn. You may even start a family tradition focused on the best error of the day. Normalize error making and make the learning that comes from it. In this example, a teacher is showing a small group assessment. Teachers may ask students how well their group members participate in or collaborated during small group time. The purpose of this is not only to get a temperature check of how well the groups are working together, but it also helps students learn to offer feedback as well as receive it with one another. To support your young person seek feedback and embrace errors, you can make the struggle productive. Make sure that your children have opportunities to engage with struggle in productive ways by creating tasks that have a clear success target. Task your children with solving a household problem every week that is developmentally appropriate for them to do. For example, a thermostat needs new batteries. Work with your brother to figure out how to take care of this. Then step back and don't guide them too much. Where are the batteries? What kinds of batteries does it need? How do you get the thermostat cover off? Help them figure out those answers. But it might not be the fastest way to get something done, but it gives experience on how to do how lots of small errors can lead to success. Other ideas for helping make the struggle productive are buying stamps at a post office, putting picture books into a new bookshelf, or making a shopping list to help pack all of the family members' lunches. You can also ask your child for advice. Seeking help and feedback are two critical dispositions for success in life. Don't unburden yourself or on your child, but let them know when you're facing a problem and ask them for advice. You can send two important messages. The first one is that challenges are a normal part of life. And the second is that you signal how much you value them as a person. I'm going to turn it over to Pam, who's going to take us through Mindframe number 5.
Thanks, Carla. Student Mindframe 5, monitoring your progress and adjusting your learning. We monitor a lot of things in our lives, such as how many steps we've taken. We use that information to make adjustments to reach our goals. So if you want to take 10,000 steps, but the data says that you're still at, 8,500, you have to decide to get out of the chair and walk more. The same is true academically. The difference is that mostly the teachers monitor progress and adjust learning experiences. Children who have higher levels of self-regulation learn to do this as well. The key is to collect information that is useful and then do something with it. Whether you are 5, 15, or 55, you should know how to monitor the progress you're making. You don't have to create all your own tools. After all, we use wearable devices someone else designed to keep track of our movement. But you do have to have a system for monitoring. Hopefully, the teacher will provide your child with appropriate tools. These can come in the form of checklists, rubrics, or a host of other options. The tool itself is not important. It's using the tool that matters. This is where that you can come in. Talk with your child about their progress and ask how they are monitoring their own development. This doesn't have to be a daily thing, but a regular one. It's really helpful if the tools that you use to monitor progress have indicators of success along the way. We shouldn't wait to notice that we have been successful until the end. Checkpoints along the way can be motivating and reassuring that we are on the right track. This is a tool that you could use. In the description to this video, I will post a link so you can download this and print it for yourself. You'll notice that the child has a list their learning goal, the date, and then they decide, do they need help? Are they practice? Are they independent? Or are they a pro and can teach it to others? In addition to monitoring goals, children need to know that they can make adjustments to their learning plans if they're not making progress. Sometimes they just need permission to adjust their learning plan. If it's not working, then make sure that they know that they can change it up. If one tool is not working, invite your child to change it, but make sure you talk about why it's not working and ask them if the new choice is more useful and why. It's an opportunity to reflect on their learning and not simply getting things done. You may see your child's teacher do these things to help them monitor their progress and adjust their learning. For example, they might use rubrics or something like a know and show chart. A rubric is a breakdown of the characteristics of an assignment into parts. It allows the teacher to itemize and define exactly what aspects are strong and which ones need improvement. In the example on your screen, you might use this rubric to rate your child on a breakfast in bed that they serve you. So, in this case, you'd give your loved ones a separate score for each category. They might get a 3 on presentation, but a 2 on food, and just a 1 on comfort. To make the feedback even more targeted, you could even highlight the specific phrases in the rubric, like the recipient is crowded during the meal, to indicate exactly what went wrong. This is where we see the main advantage of the rubric. It gives students a clearer picture of why they got the score that they got. The score isn't just a circled number on the page. There are specific reasons why they scored the way that they did and what they can do next time to improve it. A teacher might also use something called a know and show chart. In the know and show chart, the teacher asks students to write all the things they know about a topic and then write how they can show the teacher or the class what they know. In this example, the teacher is asking students to list what they know about the American dream and the Constitution, and then how they can show the teacher that they know this information. The teacher might actually even circle one of the how I can prove it and ask the student to do that for their assessment. As a parent and caregiver, you can support your young people seeking feedback and embracing errors. You might check in on the goals that you and your child set. So, thinking back to Mindframe number 2, we talked about those individual and family goals that you might set with your child. Have some intermittent checkpoints to monitor their progress and make adjustments to that goal accordingly. If it's a monthly goal, establish check ins at the end of the first week and the third week. Longer and shorter term goals can be adjusted accordingly. A good basic rule of thumb is that younger children benefit from shorter goals and more frequent check ins, while the older the child is, the more long term the goal can be with fewer checkpoints. Second, don't misinterpret adjustment as a sign of failure. Sometimes a goal that is initially set may prove to be a mismatch and is in need of being changed a little bit. That's okay. And make sure your child knows that too. Monitoring progress toward a goal invariably comes with some adjustments along the way. When your child undershoots or overshoots a goal, they are also learning how to better calibrate between goal setting and goal completion. And finally, keep a visual tool for your child to monitor their progress. You know those lines at public attractions that are roped off so that people snake around a pathway until they get to the entrance? Every time you turn a corner, you actually get a little subconscious reward because you've made a little bit of progress towards your goal of getting to the entrance and on the ride. Visual cues that allow your child to keep track of progress accomplish a similar function. A checklist on the refrigerator, a running total on the kitchen bulletin board, or a door message board on your child's bedroom door. All of these work in providing a visual reminder of their progress. I'm going to turn it over to Carla, who will talk about Mindframe number 6.
Thanks, Pam. Next, we're going to talk about recognizing your learning and teaching others. The final student mind frame requires that children learn to think about their thinking. In the academic world, it's known as metacognition, but it's easier to say thinking about your thinking. As children become more reflective, they recognize that learning has occurred and their efforts result in their success. They don't attribute their learning to others. They realize they are the cause of it. Recognizing that you have learned something is an important skill. First, it signals that you're ready for something else. Second, success breeds success. And when a child realizes that they have learned something, they are more likely to want to learn more. Third, when the child realizes that they have learned something, they're excited and want to talk to others about it. We recommend that you stop asking your child, what did you do today? And instead ask, what did you learn today? There are levels of learning. At a lower level, the child has acquired knowledge, skills, and concepts. Eventually, the child is able to consolidate their learning and perform consistently across time. Eventually, the child's learning will generalize to different contexts, which we call the transfer of learning. That means that they are applying their learning to a new situation. Practice is important to ensure that students own this level of learning. You can help with this by creating situations in which your child can apply their knowledge in different situations at different times. For example, while learning to read, recognizing letters or sight words can be practiced throughout the home at different times of the day. Once a child has learned something, teaching it to someone else can assist in transfer or ownership of that learning. The research is pretty clear about this. Peers tutoring each other is beneficial to both. You can set up opportunities for your child to teach others, perhaps younger siblings. It's even been shown that reading to a pet can boost reading skills. Learning should not be limited to the content of the classroom. You can be more explicit about the habits that your child needs to develop by asking them to reflect on their developing mind frames. So there are a few different teacher moves that can help develop this mind frame. By asking students to read themselves, reading aloud gives students options or choices. By asking a student to teach back to the class, it is giving a student an option to be the teacher and show their learning. By asking students to share their learning with family members, they're communicating that learning with others and also sharing the information that they have learned. In this short video, the teacher has asked the students to teach back what they have learned about comparing numbers with decimals by asking the students to walk through the process of deciding if they should use greater than or less than sign. This also allows the teacher to see what the students have learned and what the teacher may need to reteach to the student or the class as a whole.
Hello, class. So we are going to compare numbers, and the numbers we are comparing are 436,425 and 450,123. So the bigger one would be this one, because the alligator would want to eat it. The reason why the alligator would want to eat this number is because you easily see the 4 and then the 4. They're equal. But you would go to the next one and there's a 3. And then there's a 5. 5 and 3 are not equal. So you would go to the one that's bigger, and you would put the alligator, and then you would circle it. And if you ever have another problem like this, and these are staying equal but the last one isn't, then you have found your answer of which one's bigger. So thank you so much for watching how to compare a number.
In our next example, a high school culinary arts teacher sent food home to students. The students participated in a Zoom class where they are cooking a recipe along with the teacher. The students were then asked to share the food they prepared with their parents, siblings, or friends and record their feedback on how the meal tasted. They then had to write a response where they discussed what they would change about the recipe based on their feedback. The students quickly learned that if the only feedback they received was it was good or yummy, they wouldn't know what needed to be improved next time. It's a powerful way that the students learn the power of feedback.
So I'm going to highlight one teacher to give you a sense of what could happen in blended and distance learning. So this teacher teaches foods class, and she said, my class is going to be super boring if we have to do it only from a distance, but she got permission to send food home. So not, the food was purchased, they already had a budget for the food. She got permission to send the food home. And she said on Wednesday, they're going to watch me do exactly what I do, and they're going to replicate it. As she said, if I cut an onion, they cut an onion. If I add butter, they add butter. That is participating. Wednesday is participation. But on Thursday, on Teach Me Thursday, I will send them supplies, food, materials, with lots of options, lots of choices. And they have to make some decisions about what they want, how they want to cook it, how they want to create it, what's their goal, what are the decisions, and how can they document their learning, getting us closer to driving our learning. This is Analea, the teacher. This is one of her sections where students are following right along with her, cooking with her. This is Thursday, the first Thursday of distance learning, and these are healthy peanut butter cookies. And you can see that students seem super impressed with themselves and happy. There's a lot of choices here. You can use sun butter if you have allergies to peanuts. You can use crunchy or smooth peanut butter. You can add other nuts. You can add dried fruit, all kinds of choices. This is the first Thursday of Teach Me Thursday. And students had to document their learning. But beyond that, Analea said, I can't taste your food. You're going to have to get feedback from other people. And then you're going to have to write in response to that feedback, what would you change as a result? So I'm going to show you two clips, very short, from two different students getting feedback from their families.
Okay, you can try it now. Good? Mm-hmm.
This student said, my family never had lettuce wraps before. We really like the flavor. We don't like how messy they are. We don't like food that spills all over the plate, but the flavor was good. So she decided to redesign lettuce wraps. She wanted to do it so that food didn't fall out. The next student got feedback from her siblings.
How you guys like it?
And this student said, my siblings all said they liked it. They said it was good. They didn't give me anything to improve. And she wrote her response on the value of feedback and understanding why teachers gave her feedback. After 14 years of living, she finally said, this is why I finally get it. This is why my teachers give me so much feedback. Because if they just say they like it, I can't get any better.
So to summarize, you can support your child in their learning by encouraging your child to teach you something they have learned in school. Reinforce accomplishments that your child has completed by asking them to teach you something they've learned. It doesn't matter whether you already know something they have just learned. The point is to provide another opportunity to reinforce knowledge. In doing so, you instill a sense of pride and communicate how much you value them. Host a monthly family night where everyone gets to teach the rest of the family a human trick. Members of the family might learn a magic trick or how to hang a spoon on their nose, or how to make a balloon animal or hair braiding. These are skills that no one else knows about, and everyone gets to be a special expert.
Thank you for joining us in this video. In our final video of this course, we'll talk about some family mind frames that you can have to help support your young people in their online learning. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you in video 3.
Bye.